What is up, everyone? Welcome to another AOS Trash Pandas with Rob and Carson. I'm your host, Rob. Carson is still here. He's still got a mustache, and everything is well in the world. How you doing, Carson?
I'm doing really well. Let's see what the blessing from the meat dimension is today. And it's a
What?
Corona.
What?
Whoa!
You just pulled that out
Thanks,
of the meat dimension?
Wow, that's
cool.
awesome.
That's so
I
great.
love you, meat dimension.
You
I'm
better.
doing great. How are you?
Very good. I'm better now. I wish Spider City or wherever I'm living provided fruits as well, but
Spider-Town?
yeah, Spider Town, Canada. Anyway, with us tonight we've got our very esteemed guest, Matthias Krushel is back. How you doing, Matthias?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a blood or skull dimension behind me, but
That's true.
I came out and I'm here.
Good enough. So Matthias just came off of a win up in the Northern Wastes. That is actually Prince George. Just kidding. Love you guys and Prince George. But yeah, we had Conan on last week, who was kind enough to talk to us about the spiders. But Matthias is actually the one that won that tournament, and I think I said that in the last one. But I'm really excited to have you to talk about this new love of yours. You've gone back to your old love, which is now your new love again.
My OG, that's right.
Yeah, because if you really love something, you let it go. And if it comes back, it's truly yours.
And you go back to it, and then
And if you
again, then you go
Spend
back.
$600 trying to buy it back from someone who's being very kind to sell it back to you.
What? Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
There's a whole story. Hello, Robin.
Yo, Robin.
Um,
Curtis. What up?
Yeah, I have a long storied history with Khorne.
That's
and
true.
I can't believe that I let them get away once and I cheated on them by giving them away, and now I've come crawling back to them. I'm happy I did.
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, the first time we ever played, you were playing Khorne, and do you remember what I was playing?
Was it Skaven?
No, it was Night Haunt.
Night Hound?
Yep, Night Haunt, and yeah, your Bloodthirster did you had the three Bloodthirster combo, and they had some kind of ability where they could explode mortal wounds around them, and you just got them all, and everything died.
The Boomthirster rolled sixes and
Yep,
won the game.
it was crazy. Well, there was some kind of battalion then where they could I forget what it was, but it was terrifying, and you killed me lots, and I still curse you to this day.
Just be lucky. Just be lucky.
It wasn't
All you
luck.
need.
It wasn't luck.
Well,
Although
for
there was,
a Boomthirster it is.
well, it wasn't the new one where it's just all the things happen. And I don't remember. Yeah, maybe someone in the chat can remember. But anyway, before we go into cornholing, and corn on the cob, we do have a rumor engine. Did you guys get a chance to see it?
I did.
I mean, by looking at it right now, yes.
Okay, could it possibly be anything but a Flesh Eater Court's knight with a spear?
It could be a Soulblight thing.
A Soulblight thing.
I don't know, some Warcry warband again.
Another one. I actually
Yeah.
wouldn't. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise
so
me.
flip your perspective a little bit, right?
Okay.
Flip him maybe I want to say 100 degrees left, so the little spike is facing down.
So counterclockwise.
This is just a real cool dude skeleton who vomited out. He's just having too good of a time. He's going out drinking with his buddies.
Oh.
And it froze. it froze in an icicle because this is Beast Claw Raiders, and we're getting a Beast Claw Raiders
What?
re-release.
Oh.
Yep.
What? Seriously though, what is like the right, like, is that his shoulder blade and arm, or is it like cloth?
It's his,
I think that's skin
yeah.
or cloth.
Oh, if that's skin, that's gotta be FEC, right?
It's Skaven because the warlord, what's the named character warlord from fantasy? He had like a bunch of skulls on spikes on his back.
Yep.
This
Queek
is
head
that.
taker. Queek head taker.
Wait, this is
He,
they're
his,
doing something.
he's got
It's
like
gonna
a-
be Skaven. It's
he's
gonna
got
be
a-
Skaven.
that would be so sick. If he's like, yeah. Oh my god! Like, what if he's like a new vermin lord, and like now the spikes on his back are like way bigger, and there's like whole things just spiked on there.
Hot.
Oh my god! I want it now. Me, a wanty.
It's generic enough that there could be copium anywhere.
yeah, that's true. Or shoulder pad of the dude who was a matching pair. Interesting. That's true. What are you applauding, Robin? Are you applauding for more beer out of the meat dimension? I think he's still
I
working
think
on
he
the
means the Beast Claw Raiders.
Oh, the copium?
Copium.
Yeah, that's true. That was magnificent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's-
Too. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, first I misunderstood you because you said to the left, so I thought you meant counterclockwise, but you meant clockwise. So he's like going out, like that, right?
No, I meant he's facing downwards, like it's an icicle. You know,
Oh.
he's vomiting downwards,
I see. Okay, what was I thinking?
and his buddy was holding his legs off a cliff so they wouldn't make a mess.
I see.
True bros.
And then the Everwinter
Really
came
vomit
and
ice
claimed them
spears.
both.
Oh dear. I like it. Yeah, that angle, I think we know where the spear entered. Through its back, obviously. Moving right along.
His back.
Yeah, yeah. Or his cornhole. Yes, I worked it in again.
Ooh, there it is.
Yeah. Speaking of which, tonight we are here to talk about Khorne,
About my cornhole.
about your Khorne, and everything in between. That sounded dirtier than I meant to do. So, Matthias.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a very tiny bit before the stream. Would you like to share what you're thinking about Khorne now?
Right. So, Khorne got a new book
Mm-hmm.
whenever ago.
Uh-huh.
It's always so much hype and anticipation
Nice and
before a
specific.
book comes out.
Yeah.
And then at the moment it comes out, you forget everything about that and you move on with your life as if it was normal.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows when it came out, but it came out.
That's true. How could we
Meant to
possibly know that information? You know?
It's lost forever.
Yep.
Forever. But
true.
it was very powerful when it came out, 3-up save Blood Warriors with a 4-up rally were pretty valuable. And then they nerfed rallies so that it wouldn't be capped, so it would cap at 5 Blood Warriors. That was a hit. And then they actually nerfed Khorne with straight up points increases on big things and decreases on other things, so it was fair.
Okay.
But the big change was Murder Lust. It was, for 1 Blood Tithe, the ability to move 3 units d6 inches just ended up. You could reposition your whole army every hero phase, and that was too powerful. And so they changed it to what it should have been from the start, and just like that, Khorne switched to an absolutely fair army. And
Okay. Could you actually just quickly,
It's
because
great.
not everyone is probably aware of the changes. Like you said, they changed it to what it should have been in the first place. What
Yes,
was
sir.
what was the FAQ ruling on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's in the FAQ and the battle school. That's right. They just changed it to, so we all know Blood Tithe, and as the mechanic, whenever a unit dies anywhere on the battlefield, you get a Blood Tithe, or through a couple other means that Khorne has in their army. At the end of the hero phase, you can spend your Blood Tithe for effects, or at the end of the movement for summoning. Number 1 for 1 Blood Tithe, it was move up to 3 units d6 inches, and they can walk into combat as part of that movement.
Yep.
Now it's pick 1 unit for 1 Blood Tithe. They move d6 inches, can walk into combat still and everything. But now you can do it a second time for a second Blood Tithe and a third time for a third Blood Tithe, choosing a unique unit every time. They also changed points a bit, right? Like the 2 Bloodthirster that aren't being taken all the time went down in points. Things like Khorne went down. All the Foot Priests went up to 110, so they're the same. They made the banner a little more. They just did a bit of rebalancing, but there was no major changes in points. It was mostly the Murderlust change for that 1 Blood Tithe that fits the army.
And that was sorry, and I just wanted to make sure I understand, because I thought I knew what it was, but it's a little different than I actually thought it was. It used to be 1 Blood Tithe point for 3 units. Now it's 1 per Blood Tithe unit, and it has to be a different unit. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
They just broke it up to even. Yeah. It's the exact same, just you have to spend a Blood Tithe to do each individual unit now.
Yeah, that's crazy that you were able to get like 3 of them originally, just like with 1. Like you just do it every turn, right?
Yeah, you'd have to have a very strong reason not to do it, because I remember watching battle reports of people playing it, because I didn't play it when it was pre-nerf for outside reasons, but you just like, people are like, all right, I pick my battle tactics, and it's like, kill that unit. Well, then I move d6 back there. This unit goes d6 over. This unit goes d6 over. It's like, you move 3 different things and then still have a redeploy in the bank ready to go.
Jeez.
And it just makes battle tactics even more difficult.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I mean, even as it sits now, it's still a very powerful mechanic. So, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the new Skaven to get a buff in the new battle scroll this September. I'm gonna switch back, baby.
Are you?
Come
back to me. Come back to me.
I want to play Skaven, but they're literally the worst army right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't think they're as hard. I don't think they're as bad as the stats show, if that makes sense. But I do understand the struggle. I don't know. Maybe it's just because like I'm better with Skaven than I am with most of my other armies, so it doesn't feel the same, you know. But I don't know. I mean, it's not looking good. But it's funny because
their war scrolls are good enough, and their points in most places are good enough. They just need, I guess, battle tactics. They need some kind of boost.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree with that.
They're in a good enough place that you don't have to make a new book for them to suddenly shoot up to be a top tier army, right?
I totally agree with that. I think because we've only gotten to that, maybe that's what it is, because as we move along, battle tactics have only gotten harder and harder to score. So when your book tactics are the worst in the game, it just seems like, you know what I mean? It just, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Maybe like the KB treatment, so that there's like just one, like quite doable one, like move 2 different units through a gnaw hole or something. It's kind of similar. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of Skaven stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Khorne. I mean, I'm much happier in the warp, you know, in the Skaven in between dimension, but I'll be dragged kicking and screaming. Thanks to everyone for joining us again. Bahamut, I see you. Keith, Ledivicus, all you guys, appreciate you hanging out and talking about Khorne. Also the Blades of Khorne, you know, feel free to put your Khorne puns in the chat. So Matthias, you're saying you're a fair army now, right?
Uh-huh.
But you were able to win a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
a fairly like a competitive tournament. You know, some hard hitters in there, some Seraphon, you know, Daughters of Cain. A lot of those like
Spiders.
yeah, yeah, that top army spiders. Yeah. What do you think Blades of Khorne's strengths are?
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Ooh,
God, do they have shenanigans?
that's
They
true.
do not run at you and kill you. They can run at you and not die, but
Okay.
nothing, well, other than Starbrand, I suppose. There's not a lot. The army isn't like Iron Jaws, where it's just putting out damage like there's no tomorrow.
Speed
But
and damage.
it's just full of shenanigans. The prayers bend the game. Murderlust bends the game. Like everything on the Blood Tithe table from 1 to 5 can greatly affect the game. It has out of phase movement, which is always a very high skill ceiling type thing. It has a very unique power of moving enemy models, which only them and Beast of Chaos do, which really messes with shit. And it does have solid battles or solid units in it. It has powerful artifacts like no ward saves or always strikes first. It has good mortal wound output. It's got 3-up and 2-up armor save base. Has 4-up rally. It just has a little bit of everything, and
Right.
it has a huge ally pool too. So it's just deep. And the core strength of Khorne, I feel, comes from the generic abilities it has, like demons having a 5-up ward outside of the 8 of the enemy, mortal units reflecting wounds on death, and having 4-up rallies from the banner. And these kind of generic abilities mean that you can be really diverse with your lists, ideas, and approaches, and it's the fact that it's a Khorne army that means it can win, I think. It's not like you need a specific build like you see with OBR in order to do really well. You can approach it from all the different angles, and you're going to use your movement tricks and prayers and summoning to pull through and win the game at the end of the day.
That's
So it lives and dies by that, you know?
Mhm.
If you really know how to utilize all the tools in the toolkit, both in list building as a prediction of your meta and in game as a way to react to what's happening on the battlefield or set up to what your opponent is bringing, you can do really well. And if you're still learning it or just not able to fully utilize it, you can be punished for it. Like I've lost games where I just didn't put my Bloodthirster 1 inch closer. I opted out of like a specific range, and I feel like the game can fall apart off of that. So you have to really be good at position, I'd say. But there's a lot of fixing. There's a lot of comeback mechanics and a lot of ways to fix mistakes. Like if you mess something up, you can pre-game move to fix it, or you can murder lust to reposition if you accidentally weren't, on an objective like you meant to be. So it can be forgiving if you can remember all the rules. That'll actually help you get back in place.
Right. Yeah, and it has a lot of anti-magic too, which is really strong in this current season.
Yeah, it's safe.
Right. Actually, I forgot to say. So Robin said, "Win or lose, when I play Skaven, that stuff is fun." Totally agree. And then Ladivicus said to you, Matthias, "Isn't that why he was talking about you're waiting for Skaven, right?" And so he's saying, "Isn't that why you weren't playing OBR before their new book, Matthias?"
The reason I wasn't playing OBR or Khorne or Skaven or anything was because it was I needed to practice for Worlds, so I was spamming Nurgle games.
That's fair. But
Skaven fell off. And GHD dropped, and I was not going to bring Skaven to Worlds and to be a disappointment.
That is fair. Yeah, wait, so are you going this year?
Mm-hmm. Well, the team submissions haven't been decided on yet.
Oh, the world teams thing. Got it.
Yeah.
I meant like that grand final thing. Last year was in New Mexico. No. Okay.
Yeah, now it's in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right on. Okay. So then we got a bunch of really good what do you call them? Puns in the chat, which I really appreciated. Okay. So what was I was actually had something in my brain. Okay. So going on from there, what do you think Khorne's weaknesses are, if any?
I mean,
I forgot to put
they are mono melee output.
Okay.
You have to play in combat to do your output because you're not doing shooting, you're not doing magic.
Yeah.
So you're reliant on positioning as a big reason for that. So you kind of, all of your damage dealers are killable. None of them are super tanky and super hitty. Aside from Scarbrand or like Bloodletters on the charge, nothing is particularly heavy in its output. Your abilities that still give you really powerful things, like your movement prayer and your moving the enemy prayer and Murderlust, are all still dice rolls, so it's not like you just guaranteed do everything that you want to do. You still have to move d6 inches.
Right.
Or you have to...
There's a certain randomness to that, huh?
Go off.
Right.
Yeah, which makes it fair, right? We're playing a dice game. It's supposed to be random.
Well, and you could do like you could do some things where you're like, okay, like he's got a 5-man squad, right? He's probably going to want to get onto the objective next turn. I might be able to put 5 or 6 guys off the objective, 4 guys on, and then he'll think he can just walk up and grab it, and then so even if you roll a 1 on your, you know what I mean? Like there are certain things like that I suppose you could do, just counting, just assuming you're going to get a 1. But I hear you, a d6. Yeah,
the main thing you do, that one's tricky. That wouldn't quite work because it's end of the hero phase, so they see you walk on with 6 bodies unless they pick a battle tactic. The big thing you do is you run your models outside of 3 inches of the enemy, like just garbage blood reavers or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you Murderlust, and you go, it doesn't matter what you roll. You move 0.1 inches to be at 2.9 of the enemy, and now they're stuck in combat.
Right.
And if you just hit the corner of a unit at 2.9 inches, they have very minimal guys that can actually pile in and hit you.
That is dirty.
You can maybe keep them stuck.
That is real dirty.
That alone, that little tech, is what makes Khorne a control army. So it's very control heavy.
Wow.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time locking down opponents with chaff, and then you can lean into it heavier with Be'lakor, like I like to do.
I like that. Keith said he really wanted Khorne to shift more towards IJ and away from big brain tactical shenanigans. I think he's referring to the fact that they've pretty much always been like a Johnny tactical army, especially in AOS 2. And if anything, it seems like they're leaning more and more into that. It doesn't really suit their narrative or like the feel of the army. Like you'd think most of them are like fraternity type bros who are just like, yeah, let's run it and smash. But yeah, like they're definitely not that.
If anything, yeah, Khorne and Slaves to Darkness should switch how they play. Because that's kind of what Slaves does. They're just hit good and tank good. And that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, IJ just hits good.
Yeah,
so
they have mobility instead.
I have a question from the chat, which isn't biased at all, that I picked this question. Divicus says,
I do
Khorne versus Carcinogers, who wins and who does it more fairly? Debate.
Well,
I'm gonna give the opening statement
Carson
to
wins.
my adversary Matthias.
Carson
Evil.
wins. We've played like 4 times, and I only beat him when he was buzzed on cider.
What were you buzzed on, Carson?
Cider.
Oh,
It was
okay.
at Darren's game day.
Oh,
I was just,
okay.
like, watching people play games, and then realized I was like a couple ciders deep. And he's like, "Let's play." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh dear.
It's not an excuse though. If anything, I should play better when buzzed. Come on.
The meat dimension is saying you should by giving you beer.
Yeah, that's true. Not cider though, idiot.
True.
I mean, you should only like play better if you also have meat. Like, you needed like a mutton shank or something like that, right? Then that would unlock your power.
Just bring meat to all my tournament games.
You should.
That's all. I mean, honestly, like keeping yourself fed and like energized during a game is very important.
Yeah,
So
beef jerky, like protein.
even past the meme portion of this, like it would actually probably help. To be honest,
Yeah.
getting your salts. And...
Yep. I like it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, get in there,
No,
Carson.
I find Khorne to be a really interesting army. I agree with what was it? No, Alex said. No, who said they were playing? Okay, Keith said it. Sorry, that he wanted them to shift towards more like IJ style tactics, and I kind of appreciate where Khorne is, because I see what they're doing. It's like very battle of attrition. Like you can think that you're winning a game against Khorne, and then like 10 or 20 bloodletters will pop up on the board, and then like some shenanigans will happen, and all of a sudden it deletes like a bunch of your army, and you're like, oh, okay. And, like there's a lot of wiggling in and out of situations that Khorne does that you have to be careful of. Like you never have to assume that even if you've like basically tabled them, that you're gonna win the game, because when Matthias and I played at ECO, like I won because of luck. That was it. Like I will freely admit that it was a 1-point difference game, and if any dice roll was different, then that probably could have gone to him, right? So
I mean,
and that just kind of speaks to how like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please. Sorry.
That speaks because you were basically tabled, right, Matthias? Like I think you
By
had
the
like
end of the game, yeah.
by the end of the game, yeah. But even then, like most games, I would say don't end up in someone being tabled. It's usually like attrition. Like it's not that bad, but even though that was the case, it was a 1-point game, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's the fun thing, is a lot of the battle tactics in the GHB and some in their book. You can score starting with nothing on the field. You can have just nothing and then summon from your altar and have a tactic now.
Yeah.
Well, and Carson has been, you know, not to take anything away from Carson, he's been playing amazing lately. He's been doing extremely well, going to top table in pretty much every tournament he's been to lately.
Yes, sir.
But the funny thing was about that tournament was Matthias was beating like some of the hardest people in the tournament, and they played, and then Carson wins to go on to top table. Oh, mwah, Carson
Loses.
Yeah, and then he lost. Yeah,
That's why
Proceeds
I
to
really
lose to another Khorne army.
that's why I really wished like we met at the top table, because then it would have been like, okay, both of us are getting awards after this game, so
Right.
it's gonna be great. Like, you know, that way we can truly just play a game without really any stakes. But unfortunately, we met in the 4th round instead of the 5th. So
that's true.
yeah.
But yeah, so okay. So what are your favorite factions then? Like, do you tend to play? I think you just tend to play the one. I forget the name of it.
Khorne, Nurgle, Skaven.
No, I meant
Those are different
sub
factions.
faction. I'm so sorry.
Sub factions. All right.
Slaughterhouse, if we're being more precise.
What the Slaughterhouse?
Yeah, what's your favorite, Matthias?
So, I fall to the usual opinions of Khorne armies here.
Uh-huh.
I think maybe slightly off. There's generally 4 of the 6. Yeah, 4 of the 6 that are really good and fully takeable, like at equal level with each other. I like 3 of them. The one I'm taking all the time is Bloodlords.
Okay.
But that's just a meta haul at this point. I'm just taking it because OBR is a menace.
That's
and
true.
Safe backing can be a menace.
Now I just saw someone. I went to tweet, just this episode out there, and like this is a bit of a tangent, and someone was like just below me, and I don't think I even follow them, to be honest. And I won't out them, you know what I mean? But they were like, my tournament experience was ruined. People were great, TO's great, the package great, everything great. But OBR ruined this tournament for me. Like, Jesus. Like, I don't think it's that bad, but I was like, damn, there's some salty people out there about OBR. And they've been like smacked around and like hit with like a couple of nerfs, man. But
it sucks so much to come in and kill 4, like throw in your biggest punch possible and kill 4 of the 6 Mortis Guard, and then they put 2 back. Then they hit you back, and it's like nothing ever happened.
Yeah. You're not wrong. That's true. Yeah, man. Okay, so Bloodlords are when you use the decapitating
sub-faction.
Oh, the Bloodletter one. Got it. Right. So the decapitating blow, it goes. The mortals go on 5s instead of 6s, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. And those are in it.
You made a charge. That's Bloodletters, the Herald Bloodletter on foot, Herald on Skull Crusher, Herald on Throne, Skull Cannon, and Blood Crushers, the normal Bloodletters on Juggernauts. Right. All of those guys. But not, importantly, and weirdly enough, not Skull Taker. His Decapitating Strike doesn't count because it's called the Slayer Sword, not Decapitating Strike. So he doesn't get to play.
That's stupid, but whatever. We'll take what we can get, and we'll run.
Yeah. It wouldn't be worth it even still.
Warpstone Enjoyer says everyone runs the Bloodletter one. I don't think...
Reapers of Vengeance, I think, is generically it's the generically best one. If the reason I like Bloodlords is because you just need mortal wound volume to clear out high save things. But if that's not necessary, then I would happily switch to Reapers of Vengeance as soon as possible. It's 2 Blood Tithe every time an enemy hero dies instead of 1, and then demons also have a +1 to hit against heroes, which is... The +1 to hit doesn't matter as much.
Wow.
Because the 2 demon thing... Well, there's 3 demon things that you generally want, but Bloodthirsters already hit on 2, so they don't really care. It's helpful for Bloodletters and Fleshdowns, and past that, Skull Cannons and Blood Crushers aren't huge on their output anyway, so it's just a quality of life bonus. It's the extra Blood Tithe that's really big. And the nice thing about it is this is the one sub-faction out of all of them that doesn't care about whether you're a demon or a mortal. Like, obviously, if you're a demon, you have the bonus against heroes. Right. But if you're allying in 6 Varangard or Archaon or something, he's still getting a benefit by killing a hero, and your sub-faction is still participating with them.
Right. I like
also,
what...
The hidden I know it's not like... If most of your units don't care, but being able to offset -1 to hit is pretty big, especially like even against OBR, which is just handing it out most of the time too, right?
Yeah.
It comes up, yeah.
Well, not only that, but like if you can ignore the -1 to hit, then you're saving yourself command points, A, and B, you can roar me, bro, and I don't care. Like that's actually a big deal for a lot of armies, especially for armies that want to put out a lot of damage, like Khorne, for example. Yeah, I think that's a good call, Carson.
I mean, if you really want the +1 to hit, and you're talking about getting roared, you can always just Titanic Duel for a +1 to hit anyways.
If you're talking about the Bloodthirster, but...
Usurper.
Yeah, but like there's also the Bloodletters.
Yeah.
And, yeah, all sorts of other things. I think it's pretty dope in general. Also, like, you could if you're getting the +1 to hit anyway, then you can save the CP for an all-out defense, and it doesn't even matter. You know, there's a few options there.
Yeah, it's not nothing for sure.
Yeah, it's better than, kicking the pants, right? Also, I agree with Alex. He said no Matthias, they put 4 back, meaning the Immortalis guard.
Immortus card.
Yeah.
Not Immortalis.
I don't care.
Actually.
Enter OBR name here. This little square box.
I have one more gripe with Rob's pronunciations. He always says Mortrek guard instead of Mortek.
No,
There's
not anymore.
extra R.
Not
There's no
anymore.
extra
Not
R.
anymore.
I will die on this hill.
You know who started me on that?
Put him
Actually,
in its place.
you know who started me on that?
Ask the buck. Who did it? Huh?
You should know.
I don't actually.
It was Ryan.
Ryan?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he always said Mortrek guard. Like, I don't read the war scrolls of I'm not Matthias, right? I don't read
Right.
everyone's war
You
scrolls
just
and
memorize it. In
memorize them. Yeah.
Battle tome.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. In our first game, when we played, I had the black coach, and I was like, I'm just going to attack with this thing, and then now I'm going to attack with this thing, and Matthias is like, you can't attack with both of those things. You have to choose between them. It says over here, and I was like, I didn't even know that.
Profiles.
It was like my second game with them too, and I had never used the black coach before. And then he was just like, you're cheating like that. You can't do that. And I was like, what the hell? Like, this thing is way worse than I even thought. Yeah.
It is on page 76, approximately 157 characters in.
Yeah.
I think you'll find.
Exactly. And people don't believe me when I say I actually enjoy playing Matthias even when I lose. Isn't that weird? Yeah. I know. Even when he makes that face.
You're supposed to not enjoy playing against me ever.
I know that's your goal, but somehow, you're greedy little...
My current list is designed to stop the opponent from playing the game. It's true. It's not great.
I mean, you say that like you haven't done that before, but remember when you used to use Nagash in OBR in AOS 2 and you played with my Deepkin, and then at one point you literally said to me, oh, did you think you were going to get to play in this game, Rob? Yeah.
Yeah.
I laughed,
That's only for you, Rob.
and then I went home and I cried. Yeah. No. Actually,
Don't do it in front of me.
Actually, gross. Yeah, to be honest, as much as I love playing Ryan, his OBR were my least favorite because he had the audacity to roll really well as well. So I took 9 eels and went into them, and I killed I think it was 5 more tech guard, Carson, out of 20, and then he killed all of my eels. Or no, he killed all of them except for 2 or something, and then they ran away to Battle Shock. It was a gross. Anyway, back to, I guess we got to still talk about these Blades of Khorne, rather. So, you still like Bloodlords and Reapers of Vengeance, second pick. What are the other ones that you like? If people want to think outside the box.
Tribe.
Okay.
I will direct you to
Direct me to the one sentence
Stuart
that's here.
Iron Gutsman McCowan's YouTube channel for why Skulking Tribe is really cool. He did a video post Khorne nerf
Neat.
where he pivoted on a lot of his opinions apparently, and he posted a list he has using Skulking Tribe that is very different to how the standard Khorne list functions. It's really weird, and I want to play it, and it's a good ability. When you get a natural roll of 8 or more on Bloodbound, i.e. mortal units, you get ASF,
Okay.
which means you can take a bunch of little goober heroes like Skull Grinders and
And then do the
and
Night Haunt
they
thing.
can join in and sometimes fight first as well. The Bloodthirster that gives you a 3d6 charge can almost guaranteed give something ASF.
Because it's 8+, it's not
and-
it's unmodified.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Oh!
if you choose
3
it's still
dice.
unmodified.
Oh my gosh, you keep it.
You're not modifying it. Yeah.
It's
you're
just
charging
3d6?
dice. Yeah.
That
So it's a fun little bonus there.
What? That's crazy. That's so awesome. That sounds like fun, actually.
Yeah. The real hidden bonus of Skullfiend Tribe
Yeah.
is it makes Skull Reapers battle line, and Skull Reapers are the real kitty piece for the mortal half of the book. So having them be battle line is nice for Into the Maelstrom as a battle tactic, and really nice for fulfilling your battle line minimum, but you're generally doing that with Blood Reapers already. And then also, if you're taking the Overshadow grand strategy, where you have to kill all the enemy battle line and have one of yours alive, if your main hammer unit that has a 4-up rally is also battle line, that's great.
Skull Reapers are the ones with the big axes. They're not the ones with the Kratos blades, right?
Yeah, they're the big boys with either 2-hand axe or 2
double axe
swords and whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
40 mil base chonkers.
Right. That is interesting as well. Robin says Keith says if Kragnos can do it, so can the Bloodthirster. I don't disagree with that, but Kragnos is also double the cost of the Bloodthirster, I think, approximately. But he's also cooler, so suck it, all you jerks who doubt him. Kragnos Dominos for the win. Wrathmonger. I can never remember. One's selling wrath, the other is reaping the skulls.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, one fun thing I wanted to mention about Khorne, like I know this probably gets said a lot, but one of the features for me, one of the things that makes me want to play Khorne is just the fact where it's like, normally if your unit dies, you're really sad. But in Khorne, you're just like, I get a blood tithe point. You know what I mean?
Yay.
You kill their guy? Oh, I get a blood tithe point. It's like, oh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. I don't know. Yeah, I like it.
Whenever my general gets picked out because I mispositioned him and it was not something really bad for the game, I'm like, you gave me a blood tithe. You fell right into my plan. I totally meant for that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wouldn't you say blood tithe points are better than CP?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you could even like just throw you wouldn't throw your general up there for no reason, but you could throw your heroes up there and little peon units and let them get peed on.
The general game plan, yeah.
Right on. Okay. Now, do you have, or can you tell us your list, your tournament winning waste list from the north?
Wasted list?
Yeah. Your King of the North list.
Maybe I can even send it to you.
Also, Keith says skull cannons in Reapers laughs at Lookout, sir, against mounted heroes. That's true. I don't know how good the skull cannons are. I remember they were good in like AOS 1, but I think that was...
They're fine.
The peon units? Yeah. Well, the peon is what I was saying, like P-E-O-N. But then they get peed on, which is also a fighting game expression. But because P stands for perfect. Yeah. Anyway.
Sure.
Okay, what is said list? Or did you just send it to me?
I sent it to you if you want to put it up.
I will attempt to do that. I will attempt to do that while you start this little shindig of an introduction. How about that?
So, like I've said, Bloodlords is my sub-faction because I go Bloodletter base.
Okay.
And the ethos behind that is my big hammer unit is Bloodletters. I like Bloodletters over Scarbrand because it's 40 or 60 wounds over 16 wounds, so they can take hits and still keep going. They dump out mortal wounds, which is really nice when you have an artifact that turns off ward save, so it just becomes true damage.
Nice.
And I really want to have Reapers of Vengeance, but I can handle not having it. I can deal with it generally. So that's the sub-faction. My grand strategy is Overshadow because I'm running a 30 block of Bloodletters, so that's the only decent grand strategy I have to kill all the enemy battle line, it's fine. It is failable for sure because I have to kill all the enemy battle line. Sometimes that's easier said than done. But I have enough battle line that generally one of my things are alive at the end. So that's the grand strat. And now we can actually see it. Well,
Yay.
until it's covered by
I was trying to like
the pop-down menu.
I can't remember the shortcut for view page mode or whatever.
Full screen.
Yeah.
F11.
F11, thank you. Nope, that
No, that only works
bad
on
things.
Chrome.
No, I'm doing all the things.
Oh,
What have you done to
that is
me,
loading
Matthias?
it. Oh yeah, no, that undid everything.
Yeah, that was meltdown. No, I meant, yeah, I should have known. Like, I do know what F11 does. I meant, like in, Word and different things. Like, the problem is they're all different. Whatever, I'll leave it like that.
Oh.
First do no harm, right? My Hippocratic oath.
My general is Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury. Easily the best Bloodthirster of the three. He doesn't do crazy damage. In fact, his damage is
Subpar.
decent, I guess.
He's the cheerleader one.
His shooting is pretty okay. This is the whip one. If
Right.
you think about him in what kind of weapon loadout they have, he has that one-handed axe and the whip. He's just a ball of utility. He just has a bunch of things he provides, and it's great. So he's my general, and he also has one of my 2 artifacts. So what he does base is he's a 12-inch move in flying, which will come up. I'll cover in a little bit, but that's very valuable. He's still 16 wounds on a 4-up, so he's got a decent little bit of chunk to him. The main things he provides is an 8-inch aura of -1 to hit for shooting and melee. So if you're within 8 inches of him, you're -1 to hit for the whole unit, which is really nice for disrupting.
If your units or your opponent's units?
Opponent's units.
Okay.
He makes the ground unstable, so they're wobbly, and now they can't aim.
So if you're shooting within 8 inches of him, then it's more trouble.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
He's got, and then as the second part of that ability, at the end of the combat phase, every enemy unit within 8 inches on a 4-up takes D3 mortals as well, which comes up as an out sometimes if things alive on 1 or 2 wounds. It brought me a battle tactic before, where I'm like, all right, I hope I roll the 4-up, and you do, and you kill it, and you're good. And it's also nice chip damage, so he loves running into big blobs of units and just ticking all of them.
And he's 330 points, right?
Yes.
How many points is the one that gives you the 3d6 charge?
That's the next ability he has.
Oh, that's the
command ability.
He has all of that?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, Hunter up, let me finish.
Wow.
So he has a command ability on his war scroll to give a non-hero Khorne unit charge 3d6 and can declare a charge from 18 inches away for a command point at the start of the combat phase. That does mean he issues it at the start of, not the combat phase, the charge phase, obviously. Because he issues it in the charge phase, it means you can't issue a reroll charge to him. To whatever units also receiving a 3d6 charge, which is why this list is 1970 and takes the reroll charge triumph. But it's generally worth it to have a 3d6 charge.
No kidding.
So those are his main 2 utilities he has baked into his war scroll: the -1 to hit aura, the explosion, and then the 3d6 charge. He's also 8 attacks, 2-up, 2-up, Ren 2, damage D3. You roll 1s more than you like a lot of the time, and D3s can be zany wonky, but it's enough that it's not nothing.
Well, and D3 is...
And then his shooting.
Okay, yep.
His shooting is also 4 shots at Ren 1 damage D3. So having any shooting at all can be really nice for freeing up a unit to charge if you're, taking a double turn and you're stuck in combat with a little goober unit.
That's fair. Wow.
So his warlord trait is Firebrand, which means he becomes a priest and that means he gets to pick a prayer from the prayer lore. The prayer lore is one of the strongest things in the book as well. Every prayer in there is money. But a few of them are kind of auto take, and so the 2 auto takes I have in here, then I have 1 extra as well because it's worth it. So the one he has is Bloodbind, which is pick an enemy unit within 16 inches, and on a 3-up, they make an 8-inch move directly towards the caster, and they can end in combat if needs be.
That's
so
crazy.
They don't have to move directly. It's just however movement gets them closest, which means they can go around things if they need to.
So now your Blood Tithe shenanigans happen at the end of the hero phase, right?
Yes.
So you couldn't. I mean, you could move them up though, and then move into combat, and avoid a look or unleash hell or whatever. Wow, that's super.
Mostly to take redeploy, but yeah.
I see. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Amazing.
And then, so that gives him another layer of utility. Now he's a priest as well. And then the 4th layer of utility is his artifact, Argath, King of Blades, my favorite artifact in the entire book. Enemy units do not get a ward save when they're within 3 inches of the bearer. So on his big old base, he's just got a 3-inch aura of no ward saves, which suddenly turns a matchup like Nurgle or Fire Slayers into a joke. What was it?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's very helpful.
Wow.
And especially when you're doing an average of 20 mortal wounds with 30 bloodletters, something like that.
Right.
It makes no word saves very good. So he has just all these levels of utility. The added bonus of making him a general also means that his 3d6 charge ability that he issues to a unit is now an 18-inch fully within instead of 12, which is a big difference.
Wow.
They're not totems or war masters.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
And
I see.
And what's really valuable about that is when you summon a unit for Blood Tithe, like 20 more bloodletters, they show up outside a 9. And so if you give them a 3d6 charge, then a 9-inch charge is nothing.
Right.
That's super doable.
That's true.
And
especially
so he's the most important piece in the list for that reason, because if I need to get back into the game, you do that by summoning, and he makes your summon immediately relevant, instead of just needing to YOLO charge it.
That's amazing. What up, Darren? Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Keith says, Be'lakor wizard, boo hiss. Would you like to talk? Would you like to talk about your?
Next guy is Be'lakor. I don't feel nothing about it. I take wizards and Khorne. I take whatever I damn well please, and you're gonna have to deal with it.
You hear that, Keith?
Be'lakor is beautiful in Khorne.
He's a cool model.
So
that's for sure.
That solves Khorne's first turn problem, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, he does a lot for the army. So first of all, the first thing we can talk about is Mr. Bloodthirster has a -1 to hit source for the enemy. His spell on his war scroll is -1 to wound. So now we're adding in another level of control. We have Murderlust, we have the -1 to hit, and we have a -1 to wound spell. And then he has the obvious thing you take him for, Dark Master, to shut down a unit until your next hero phase. So now that we got our next level of Mage of Control, and it's very helpful. And then on top of that, because he's a wizard, I suddenly get access to the cast and don't be unbound battle tactic, Magical Dominance. So I can shove him in a corner at the start of the game, and now I have access to an easy battle tactic. And if my opponent, like Carson's saying, because I'm going first, if my opponent double turns me, I can Be'lakor them. So I'm safe, generally. He provides... And Khorne's battle tactics are generally situational, all of them. It's just situational kill a thing. So because of that, you really want a good turn 1 tactic like Be'lakor can have, and it's great. And another fun thing that Be'lakor interacts with battle tactics is he interacts with the Khorne battle tactics despite not being Khorne. One of the battle tactics is pick 1 friendly unit. They need to kill 8 or more models this turn.
Wow.
It's a Khorne keyword, so he's free to do that.
Wow.
one of the other battle tactics is end your turn with all of your friendly Khorne units within 8 inches of an enemy. Because he doesn't have the Khorne keyword, he can be doing whatever he pleases.
Nice. Wow.
So
that's the best of both
meshes
worlds.
with the army really well.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He
gives me battle tactics and doesn't disrupt my other ones. And then he has those 2 layers of control. And he's a 14-inch movement, so I'm fine to shove him in a corner and so he can cast a spell right away.
Right.
And he gives me access to Mystic Shield, +1 to save. Don't mind if I do. There's nothing like that really wants Mystic Shield in this list, but taking 60 wounds on a 5-up to a 4-up, or giving the Bloodthirster a 3-up is really nice. He's just great.
Yeah, that's a strong
with
pick.
that, we can go on to the 3 little support heroes. We have 2 priests, one the Demon Priest and one a Mortal Priest, the Slaughter Priest. So the Bloodmasters are Demon Priest. Both of them are here just because they're prayers. Namely, the next auto take. So the first auto take is the pull prayer, where you pull an enemy unit 8 inches. The next most important one is the push prayer, and that is on the Slaughter Priest, Killer Instinct. I take a Slaughter Priest particularly because I don't need the Round Ritualist +1 to wound or +1 to hit ability. He just has an Unbind baked into his War Scroll, so it gives me 3 Unbinds, which is really nice to have. That's why I have the Slaughter Priest. Also, his War Scroll prayer can be really good for getting out of situations, which is an enemy unit within 16 inches takes D6 mortals, which can just free up a unit to move. So that's kind of the biggest reason I take him over a Realmgore Ritualist or anything else, because I want that D6 Mortal Wound prayer access.
Right.
But he's just there as a prayer caddy. Same with the Bloodmaster. They're a prayer caddy, but because they're a demon and this is a Bloodletter list, he comes with additional utility baked into him. Namely, his War Scroll prayer is pick an enemy unit. All your demon keywords are +1 to wound against that unit, which comes up. That helps the Bloodletters if they're going to be in a slog where they're not getting their charge bonus.
Right.
Just giving them wounding on 2s is really nice.
Their charge
the main
bonus.
thing he does.
What's their charge bonus again?
They do mortal wounds on a 5-up instead of a 6-up.
I see. So that's. Wait, I thought they always got the 6-up.
Yeah, they always do mortal wounds on a 6-up.
Oh, I see. That sub-faction is only if you charged.
Yeah, only if you charge.
Got it. Wow. Oh, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
So you don't really care about +1 to wound when you're on the charge because you're mostly getting your damage through via mortal wounds anyways.
Right.
But it's good for a slog. The main thing he does, though, is when the Bloodmaster fights, immediately after he finishes fighting, he can pick a friendly Bloodletter unit within 16 inches, and they fight immediately after him. This is nothing new. There's a lot of little heroes out there that have the combo fight thing. The big thing with him, though, is I give him the artifact Halo of Blood, which gives him always strikes first. So he charges in, always strikes first, immediately picks the Bloodletter to always strikes first, and now I can then fight with Be'lakor or the Bloodthirster right after. So I can simulate high tide simply by getting him into combat.
Yeah, it's better because it's more reliably 3 units essentially than, or 2, I guess, 2 in high tide, and then I meant in the King's. The King's ability, you can do D3 units. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
To answer Bahamut's question, could you take Slaves to Darkness Wizards? You can. They specifically have to be undivided.
Right.
Slaves to Darkness Wizards, though, which is the Warcry warbands, and that's fine. I have looked at taking lists where it's just a basic. The cheapest wizard you can get is 160 points because it has to be from a Warcry warband.
Wow.
All the other ones have to pick up a keyword, and if they can pick up a keyword, then they become a coalition instead of an ally.
Right.
And you're not allowed to coalition in wizards. You're only allowed to ally in wizards. So it's a weird little thing there. But it's not bad. Be'lakor is too valuable for the control aspect and all the other things he does. But I really wish I could take Unmade with him. But anyways, that's besides the point.
Right.
The last hero is the Blood Secretor. This is the big banner guy. He's got that giant Khorne symbol banner.
Right.
What he does nowadays is when he issues Rally to a mortal unit, they come back on a 4-up instead of a 6-up, which really doesn't come into play in this list because all of my mortals are Blood Reavers or Closet Clarinet, which are so paper thin that they very rarely survive.
Right.
The weirdly only thing he's doing here, for the most part, is he can also, once per battle, plant his banner, and I get a board-wide +1 attack to all Khorne things.
Whoa.
Which only really matters for the Bloodletters, but the Bloodletters get so much value from +1 attack because they're 2 attacks each.
Good God, yeah.
That it's worth taking him just for that. He's also nice to have as a little hero for scoring, sit back for scoring Surround and Destroy, because you want 1 hero on your backboard edge and then 2 units on the side of the battlefield running up. He's the guy that sits back and holds the back end. He's just kind of there. He's mostly there for the banner, but he does his job, and I don't hate him doing that job. There's not really a lot of other sources of +1 attack, other than like Wrathmongers maybe, but he's cheaper, and I usually only need it once per game.
And it's board wide too. Like, that's so awesome.
Board wide, so usually it's just him, the Bloodletters and the Bloodthirsters getting it, but sometimes if Blood Reavers get it, then that 50% increase in their output too, because they're 2 attacks each.
Question. The banner, you got a Bloodmaster, right? Who has the banner. If you have 2 of them, can you do that twice?
Blood Secretor.
Oh, Blood Secretor. Pardon.
Let's look at the rules, shall we? I mean, you can do it at 2 separate times in the game. Can you stack it in the same turn?
No. I didn't mean the same. I mean, I'm assuming you can't.
Yeah, it's only once per turn. You pick 1 unit to do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
you can do it 2 turns consecutively, though, if you had 2 of them.
That's what I was alluding to, yeah.
It'd be nice, but that's an over-investment.
Yeah,
Generally...
240 points just for that.
Like it.
Yeah.
And
I
mean, if you got more
importantly,
Bloodthirsters...
2 hero slots.
What's that?
More importantly, that's 2 hero slots, and Khorne really likes its heroes.
It's true. I'm just... Like, I still think it's a doable thing where you could have, like, if you just take more Bloodletters, you're just flooding the board with Bloodletters, and you've got 2 donkeys in the back just throwing their banner down, like, twice per game. I was just mostly curious because, like, the King's ability, which is on his War Scroll, was specifically FAQ that you cannot... If you have 2 Achillean Kings, you can't do that, right? It's a very similar ability. So I was just curious. Right on. Okay. And now you've got some Battle Line Fools.
Oh, and the last thing is the prayer on my Bloodmaster,
right.
the demon guy.
Okay.
He just has Blood Sacrifice, which is you do damage to yourself, you gain a Blood Tide, which is really good for turn 1, so you actually are able to murder less in the following turn, whoever's it is. And it's also just really helpful for ticking up Blood Tide.
Damn. Just
without having to sacrifice units. That alone makes it work super valuable.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Battle Line Claws of Karanak. 100 points.
Yeah, so the battle line is the entire rest of the army, and it's pretty straightforward. It's 4 units of Blood Reavers, and a unit of Claws of Karanak is the shell. So this is the Murderlust part of the army. They are all just as cheap as possible units, except for Claws. The Claws of Karanak are basically just Blood Reavers, but they have a 6-inch pregame, and they're still Khorne. So that's why they're in there.
That's
for 20 points more, you just get a pregame move on them.
For people who aren't familiar, that's the new Warcry warband that just came out not that long ago with the vampires, and yeah, they look cool.
Yeah.
So, sorry, you said they have a pregame move, so that's basically just your scout move up and kind of block, movement from getting into your zone kind of deal?
Just murderlust
it's helpful against...
Ah,
So
right.
it's there for pushing out things like any army like Gitz or Seraphon who will teleport and then Merciless Blizzard.
Got
So
it.
you can set your Bellacourt on the line and not be under threat of that because the Claws of Karnak will cover that and screen.
That's a really cool idea.
So it lets you deploy more aggressively, and against KO, it's the same concept where they show up outside of 9, shoot 12, so the Claws of Karnak move up so you can deploy more aggressively. And then the other thing they do is they just start closer to the enemy, so they're 6 inches closer, and then you auto-run them to go 12 inches more. And if they're outside of 3, then they can do that Murderlust thing. And I can, them alone, if I get my Blood Sacrifice to generate a Blood Tithe, and I just auto-run them, and maybe if I Hero Phase move them as well, they can just be in front of my opponent's army, and then Murderlust within 3, and my opponent just has to spend their whole turn behind this unit.
Wow.
Unless they spread out wide.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a cool piece of tech. Have you ever thought about taking 2 of them?
Yeah, I've thought about it, but I only need 1, really.
That's fair.
I'd rather have the points for the Triumph.
Yeah, at 1970, it's a decent bid.
Yeah, 30 is a pretty good amount I found to get the Triumph like 80% of the time.
It's interesting that you've got so many Blood Reavers and only 1 unit of Bloodletters, and you're taking the Bloodletter faction.
Yeah, so I've thought about this a lot. Like, I used to run just 20 Bloodletters and take the Bloodletter sub-faction. And it seems like such a waste.
Yeah.
But the hidden thing on this list is it has 4 units of Blood Reavers and Claws of Karnak.
Okay.
Just 5 Goober units. Their job is to Murderlust, screen, get in the way, and die.
Yep.
20 more Bloodletters is 8 Blood Tithes. So if I can get enough of the opponent's stuff killed or Blood Sacrifice, more Blood Tithe and everything, those 5 Battle Line units are actually 20 more Bloodletters in the wings waiting to come out.
Wait, sorry. Oh, because of all the Blood Reavers.
All the Blood Tithe they'll generate as they die.
That's interesting.
So they'll become a unit of Bloodletters over time. That's the strength of the sub-faction, is your summoning inherently becomes your hammers again, as opposed to a mortal bonus like Skull Fiend Tribe, where you can summon Bloodletters, but they're only going to be what they're going to be. The sub-faction won't help them.
Well,
whereas here, the sub-faction turns them into a threat.
Couldn't you argue, though, that if you take the Bloodthirster with the 3d6 charge, and you take the one that you talked about earlier that gives you first strike, like, wouldn't that be like
first strike is only for mortals? It's
oh, withdrawn, Your Honor.
Yeah. So it doesn't even work. Yeah, so that's what the idea is. This list only has 1 real hammer, the 30 Bloodletters, but because it has, and it doesn't have any invocations, which is something that you almost always see in other Khorne lists.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to dump out as much Blood Tithe as I can, because I'm not Reapers of Vengeance, so I'm not getting that additional Blood Tithe income. I'm just trying to get out as much Blood Tithe as I can so that I can summon another unit of hammers if I need. Or I can just fight multiple times, like fighting in the hero phase with my big block.
I see.
And then that 30 men is getting enough value.
So
it's just a bunch of control. I got 1 massive hammer, the Bloodletters, who need to be on the charge to really be keeping their momentum going.
Right.
But I have the big block of Bloodletters as my hammer, 2 minor hammers in Bellacourt and the Bloodthirster, and then a bunch of control to keep the Bloodletters happy and working efficiently. I Murderlust, I -1 to hit, I -1 to wound, I Dark Master, and I use that, and I screen with all the guys, and I use that to try and keep the Bloodletters going, and then just stop my opponent, slow them down enough that my Bloodletters can work their way through. Yeah.
I like it. That's very interesting. So curious. So they're those Bloodletters at 540 points, that's 30 of them?
That's 30.
So you could reinforce 1 more unit if you wanted to. Obviously you don't in this particular case, but
I could do 2 more reinforcement points. That's 2 out of 4.
Oh, 2 out of 4, duh, yeah. Right. That's very interesting. Yeah, you would just suspect that, like, because I think, like, the Khorne list, like, I haven't been paying too much attention, to be honest, but, like, I feel like most of the Khorne lists that I have seen have had a lot of bloodletters when they're taking the bloodletter faction. But you're kind of doing what Caleb does in Zeech, where he's like, I'm taking, like, I'm never paying for blue horrors when I take the conflagration one, because I'm just going to summon them, like, why pay the tax for points when I could just not do that and have more, with just the summoning points. That's really interesting. So if you were to recommend, like, how to not play against this list, like, I'm not asking you to go that far, but maybe could you give some general tips for those that are watching that don't play Khorne and, like, themselves, but and maybe playing against it? Like, what are the things, what do you think their priority should be? Because you play other armies as well, obviously.
The most powerful thing to use against Khorne is redeploy. Khorne, because it's all the positioning game, redeploy has so much value. And
Really?
It's not redeploying to make it a harder charge. It's when I run my Blood Reavers outside of 3-view to then Murder Lust in the next hero phase, you preempt that by when I run up outside of 3, you redeploy further away. And now I need to get my Murder Lust however many extra inches to get in. Or you can use it to get a harder charge, because if I fail that charge, then there goes my output. If I pull you 8 inches towards me, what's the one way that you can get back into your lines and back to safety? Redeploy right 6 inches right back into your line. Redeploy is the one bane of my existence, and that is why I really want the Unmade in a Khorne list. The Unmade has an ability where if you're within 12 inches,
you can't redeploy.
So, but Bellacor's 380.
Oh,
80. My ally cap is 400, so I can't fit them in.
Ooh. So
close.
If you just took Keith's advice and didn't take a dirty wizard, is that what you're saying?
No, what I would do is I'd take the cheapest wizard I can and Unmade.
That's fair. And I mean, Bellacor's one of the coolest models in the game, so I don't hate that. Yeah.
And so there is things Khorne can do to get around redeploy, i.e. murder lusting and taking you in combat before you get a chance to redeploy. Only moving in the hero phase, like, I've done that before, where it's like, the way the board is positioned right now, I don't want you moving at all, so I'm gonna just move my bloodletters 5 inches using the prayer, then murder lust them d6 4 inches, and then stand still in the movement phase, and then charge.
Wow.
Or I try and pull you into combat, so 11 inches is the sweet spot, where if my Bloodthirster, who has the pull prayer, pulling you 8 inches towards me, if it's just a clear shot, if I'm within 11 inches of you, like I'm at, say, 7 inches, you move 8 inches and now you're in base to base, you're stuck in combat. If I'm at 10 inches from you and you move 8, now you're within 2, just outside of 2 inches from you, which is within 3 inches. So I can opt into pulling you into combat or not to keep you locked in place.
I see.
And that's how I lost a game before, is I got the movement prayer on my Bloodthirster, so he moves 12 inches with flying, so he hops my lines, goes in front, and then he pulls immediately, so before he wasn't able to pull anything because it's a 16-inch range, but I push him 12 inches, now he pulls 16 inches, and I chose to be outside of 11, so I pulled them not into combat, they redeployed back, and I had to overextend to actually keep killing the unit. And then my Bloodthirster and Bloodletters were up on their own, and then they got in return. So, and that lost me the game. So, you have to be very thoughtful about it. Like, I should have had it, they get pulled into combat, which means my Bloodthirster doesn't get to charge, which means if my Bloodletters kill too many models, but not all of them. The Bloodthirster doesn't get to pile in and swing because he didn't charge, so no piling. So it's very easy to pull him out of combat and he's just stuck there. But
Right.
sometimes it's worth it just to stop redeploy alone.
Wow.
Uh,
So redeploy being the major
others,
thing. Yep. Actually, real quick,
yeah.
I know we're not talking about Skaven, but I will always talk about my lovely Skaven. Bahamut says, what do you think of the new Skaven? I think he means Priest Warband, i.e. Skavix.
Skavix Plague Pack.
Plague Pack, yeah. I think they're awesome, both physically and rules-wise. I think there's a lot of play in them, but...
They are a near auto-take, in my opinion.
Wow.
I will be 100% trying to take them every time I can. The prayer where your opponent can't contest objectives anymore
That's crazy.
kind of breaks the game. On a 3-objective scenario where you can easily control one of them,
Right.
and the opponent easily controls another one, and you just have the middle, what are they supposed to do?
Right.
They can't score now. They have to get to the priest in his little claw pack in order to actually play the game at all. And until they do, you're scoring full hold 1, 2, hold more, and they're getting hold 1, that's it. It's crazy.
And you can skitter leap him because he's a hero, if you need to.
You can,
But
mostly it's the positioning of his claw pack that needs to be doing it. The nice thing is that now that there's a priest who's super auto take, suddenly it's not so bad to be going for a build where you have 3 priests.
right.
And 3 priests is the sweet spot because that's when you can do the battle tactic to pray 3 times. And all of a sudden, Skaven actually has a really good book tactic
Right.
where you can have 3 2-up rerollable prayers.
They're all rerollable?
And, well, if you get your the Never Plague off. So you start off with all 3 of them within 13 of each other near a knot-hole. So they're all +3 to prayers. So you have 3 that are 4-up. And if any one of them gets a 4-up for the rest of the game, you're rerolling.
Wow.
And as long as they stay near each other, that 3-up becomes a 2-up, and the Never Plague makes it a reroll.
Wow, wow, wee wow. That's amazing. I've only recently started getting into Pestilence because they're stinky and gross.
They're stinky and gross, yeah.
Yeah.
The big trick is keeping the Plague Pack alive. That's the thing.
That's
they might not
Warpstone's...
be auto-take if I start playing with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And they die too much, but it just becomes a game of screening them and putting enough stuff in the way. Because truly, it doesn't matter if everything else in your army is dying, because if they're staying alive and doing that, your opponent is losing on the primary, is hemorrhaging on the primary. They're getting 1 point to your 3, and you can just run away with the game on that alone.
Yeah, then it's just a matter of do you have enough bodies to screen things out and, you know, keep them away from your precious, precious Plague Pack. Keith says, I am curious what Carson thinks about wizards in a Khorne army.
What do you think, Carson?
Enlighten us, Mr. Meat.
I prefer when they don't have them, because it makes it very easy to give them the first turn and just be like, what are you going to do? Enjoy sprinting at me for like intimidating invaders, or maybe surround and destroy if you want to split up your entire army. So I think it's a very smart choice to have a wizard in your army, just to kind of... I know that you have like lots of other benefits with Be'lakor, like shutting down a unit once per game, and the spell that he has, and his movement and whatnot, and just him being a wizard, getting access to Mystic Shield is great. But honestly, like the combination of his movement and the fact that he's a wizard is huge, because he's just like, I'm at the exact like furthest away point I can possibly be from you. I'm gonna get magical dominance. I guess there's a 1 in 36 chance that you don't. Or I guess less.
It's a 5-up to cast, but Primal Dice makes it even easier, yeah.
And he has 2 casts, right?
Yeah.
So
you could just do Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield if you need to.
Yeah, exactly. Very decent chance.
Yeah.
1 in 36 games, you don't get it, and you're crying, but there you go. Right? So I think it's smart, and I dislike it
Yeah, that's a great point that Carson brings up, though. That's another weakness of Khorne is their start of the game battle tactics are very thin because all of their book tactics are basically variations of kill a thing.
Right.
And when you're starting on the battlefield 22 or 18 apart, it's not exactly easy to kill a thing when all of your stuff kills things in melee. So you're hoping for GHB tactics, and at that point, you know, if you're on a battle plan where territories are up to halfway up the battlefield, you're not going to get intimidate the invaders. There's no shot you're getting more than half over the edge of the battlefield, and then it's also very difficult to get surround and destroy, where you have to get 2 units over that line and wholly within 6 of the board edge. So I find you have to build into your list a guaranteed way to score surround and destroy top of 1 in order to do that. And Be'lakor is one of those 2 pieces. With the 14-inch move, he actually can cross the line and be wholly within 6 on one end, then I can just auto-run a unit on the other end.
Well, and I guess you can. Sorry, I just wanted to point out too that like there is a time like if you're facing Seraphon with a Slan or a Croak, you don't get to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you could sort of, you know.
And that's why I built in both surround and destroy and magical dominance into the list. So when I come against Seraphon, Be'lakor goes on one end, I auto around the other end, the banner guy stays on the back, and I get surround and destroy anyways.
Wow. That's true.
But yeah, if they don't have that baked into their list, then giving them first turn, or just staying back if they give you first turn, means that they're probably just going to drop a tactic top of 1, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Right. I can't read Bahamut.
They're either going to drop a tactic or be very, very out of position, which is something that's like Khorne's entire game is positioning correctly.
Yeah.
So if you have to force them to go like and just like spread out all over the battlefield, then not a good time for them.
Right.
Yeah.
What's LOS stand for again? Line of sight? Other than line of sight? Bahamut, could you clarify?
Not Antiquarian Locus.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm brain farting. I'm not sure what you're trying to tell us.
Are we talking about the priest? Lord of Suck.
I
don't know. Might be
That's
to
what
do
it
with
is.
static.
That's true. Okay. Now you let us know if you need to go. I want to suck all your corn juice out. That came out wrong. Let's go with I want to get all the information I can. So now if you weren't like, because you said like one of the great things about Khorne, hey, you watch it, Carson. You dang it, what was I going to say? Oh, you were saying that like you can really build Khorne in a bunch of different ways. If you weren't building into like this list, I'm sure you've written a bunch of other ones. How would you what are some other things other ways of building Khorne that you think is strong and or fun to play?
I want to do the Skull Reaper list, the Skull Fiend tribe list that Stuart Cowan showed. It's 2 blocks of 10 Skull Reapers, and they can 4-up rally with the Banner Man.
Jeez.
And then it's a bunch of little heroes.
Okay.
And you minimize your priests. Normally, Khorne likes to get as many priests as it can because its prayers are so good.
Okay.
But Stuart is like, why bother? Just take the 2 priests, the prayers you need, and then just fill up the rest with garbage heroes that can be used as Murderlust fodder, but are also Rend 2, Damage 3, ? They're 3 attacks. He takes the Warlord trait to give them a bonus attack. And then he has Wrathmongers to give them another bonus attack. And then once per game, he can plant a banner for a bonus attack. So this little 80-point hero has 6 attacks at Rend 2, Damage 3. And he takes the monsters Rend 2, Damage 4. It's hilarious.
That's also the one... So I'm assuming you're taking a Bloodthirster 2 to give them the 3d6 charge?
I do. Stuart doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's a very orthogonal list to how the rest of Khorne plays, because that Unfettered Fury Thirster with the Warlord trait and artifact, that's just a standard auto take for like 90% of lists. But he doesn't take any Bloodthirster. He's just all in on mortals, and you know what? I gotta respect him for it.
I respect him for it if I don't, but I also disrespect him because 8+ is not super likely. That Bloodthirster makes it likely, right?
8 is all right. He's just throwing so much garbage out that
Fair.
eventually you do hit 8s. And the
that's
the
kind
other
of
thing the Skullgrinder does is when he allocates damage to an enemy monster, they gain always strikes last. So you can try and hope for that too. He always strikes first, tags them, always strikes last, and now everything that's fighting normally can hit. That's a niche thing because it's only monsters.
I see. That's interesting. Okay. Well, is there any more Khorne knowledge you would like to drop? Any tips for or against if you're playing them, or any other knowledge drops you would like to give us, Matthias?
I mean, there's a lot of good artifacts. Just keep in mind that Khorne is always going to be like wanting to max out its heroes. One, because prayers are very valuable, and that's all tied to heroes. It's got lots of all the utilities in the heroes, lots of cheap heroes if you're not going to be taking that stuff anyways.
Right.
And two, because there's a lot of very good artifacts in Khorne, and so you want to be taking warlords or command entourages to get more of those artifacts, and that requires 3 heroes every time you take one.
So I do have a question actually. So you were talking about you want your artifacts, and that's understandable. I like artifacts, especially if they're really good artifacts. But you don't tend to go for low drop armies as a general rule. Not totally always true, but obviously here you're opting for more artifacts instead of fewer drops. Like obviously you think it's worth it, but you have a very unique play style. How would you defend that? You know what I mean? Like, do you think it's worth it for most people to do?
For Khorne in general, yeah. They
Really?
have enough movement shenanigans, and because of the 3d6 charge, they can stay far enough back that if they're given first turn, they can stay back and burn the opponent's double turn without getting too much punishment.
I see. You don't move up much, and then when they do, then you go in.
Plus, it's really punishing for Khorne to be a 1-drop army, because a 1-drop army has like 3 heroes, 4 heroes at most.
But like you could be a 2-drop,
5 units.
But you could be a 2-drop because there's lots of 3-drop armies out there who just have like a 1-drop, and then they have like 2 acolytes, or 3 acolyte battalion. So then they're like 3 or 4 drops. It's pretty common right now. So like you could make the argument for it, but I'm just curious as to like the I'm
the other thing.
Yeah.
On top of a warlord or command entourage is getting the wizard hunters, specifically for bloodletters, the wizard hunters battalion in the new current GHB.
Right.
There's a bonus attack if you're fighting a wizard.
Right.
Which for the bloodletters who are only being held back by their attack output.
Right.
Those bloodletters just want nothing more than to be in wizard hunters. So when you charge something like Arc in the Black, you have 3 attacks each, or you charge a certain Frost Lord on Stonehorn with Arcane Tome that has the wizard keyword, and you get +1 attack, and then you plant your banner when he charges you, and you get 65 attacks into him, and then he survives on 5 wounds anyways, because someone's very good at making ward saves.
Hey, who could you possibly be talking about right now?
No one here plays
Alex.
Ogre. Yeah, that's right.
True.
It's Alex.
Um,
Alex rolls very well.
That's true. That's true. Everyone knows that about him. And you do have Warlord, you do have Wizard Finders of Andor, and a battle regiment here. So you ended up at how many drops?
Yes, 7.
7. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because, like, and I remember your reasoning for it before was like when you were playing Skaven, you were like 13 drops or whatever, 11 to 13 drops, somewhere in there most of the time. And you were just like, I really don't care if I go first or go second. Here,
Yeah, Skaven approaches it very differently.
for sure. But like, I'm curious as to like, so you do want to choose in Khorne, right?
I mean, if you have the choice, yeah, it'd be nice.
So
Usually making the opponent go first so that you can double, and then when they double back,
Right.
you Bellacore them is really powerful.
ooh,
But
ooh la la.
it's not necessary.
You do have to keep Bellacore alive, and incidentally, if you do have Bellacore, I would recommend putting the screening unit that's in front of him like a good 3 inches away.
Not less than 2, more than 2.
More than 2, exactly. You know, on a completely unrelated note.
Particularly if certain eels have a 2-inch reach on their spears or something.
That's true. And if you would like to see why you don't do that, there is a battle report out that is actually, I think it was Slaves to Darkness, wasn't it? Was it Slaves? No. Was it Blades of Khorne? I can't remember what you ran.
It was my Khorne.
Was it? I can't remember.
Me playing slaves? What do you think I'm trying to do? Throw the game?
You did take the wrong thirster.
I wanted to Boom Thirster for fun.
That's true. The Boom Thirster is awesome.
Thirster is fun.
Ooh, a Deepkin show. Robin, I would love to do that. And actually, Carson is studied up on Deepkin. And they are one of my favorite factions of all time. So, yeah, I would love to do that. Maybe next week. So, anything else you got for us, Matthias? Playing against them, playing with them.
Gorgaraths are good again. I
Gorgaraths
actually
are
liked them from the start, but now
Okay.
that they're down to 90 points, they have an ability to turn off Inspiring Presence within 3.
Damn.
So that's really nice. Also, I should say invocations are super worth it. Just because I don't take them doesn't mean that they're not very takeable.
Excuse me.
You can do so much crazy stuff because they can't be picked up by your opponent unless they have a priest.
Right.
So you can use them as just physical barriers where, because you can't end on top of them, you put them right next to your front line. Now your opponent can't finish a charge because they're going to finish a charge on top of you. They can go through it, but to get through it, they'd have to be on the other side of the unit. So you can use it to screen yourself. Their effects are very powerful. The brass icon turns off Inspiring Presence with an 8. It's the Horror Ghast, basically. The skulls are -2 to cast, which makes getting Blizzard through so much more difficult.
Wow. Yeah.
When it goes from a 12 to a 14. And then they also make natural 8s. Auto fail the spell cast, take d6 mortal wounds to all wizards within 8 inches of the skulls, and you forget the spell for the rest of the game, which is a lot.
And it's
And the
unmodified
Rat
8?
Axe is really good. Unmodified 8, yeah.
So, like, how does that work with your extra dice, primordial?
You roll your 2 dice, you
Yeah.
rolled an 8,
Yeah.
you fail it. You don't get to add primal to it. You
Wow.
fail the spell. Right?
So you could re-roll it, obviously, but then you can't use primordial
Yeah,
dice
you can
anyway.
re-roll it if you have
Yeah.
primal dice, but yes.
Wow.
And then the Wrath Axe is also amazing. It seems dumb at first. Everything it flies over takes D3 mortal wounds on a 2-up. Then when it lands, it does D3, maybe D6 mortal wounds. But
what
the
is
fact
that?
your opponent can't... The Wrath Axe, the 3rd invocation.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't
It's
think
just a bit of damage, but the fact that your opponent can't get rid of it means if it gets into your opponent's backline and starts smacking around heroes, they can't do anything
Right.
about it. It's just going
Right.
to keep smacking them. And suddenly, over 2 or 3 turns, their back line is dying.
and also if like you said earlier, if you don't have a priest, you're SOL in terms of getting rid of any of that stuff.
It's just there.
Wow.
So all of them have amazing utility on their own and that secondary utility of just being in the way sometimes.
Yeah. I do like that Keith said so close. Couldn't you just make it one more drop? Because you're 7 drops.
I know, right?
You went with the
I thought
Nurgle
about
number.
that, but like,
Oh,
it's
Matthias.
true.
Oh, Matthias.
I could be 6 and then make it even worse by being Slanesh.
That's true. That is worse. Wow. Okay. And sorry, why are Korgoraths like? What do Korgoraths do? Or are they just a beat stick or what?
Yeah, they're just little punchy boys. 8 wounds on a 4-up. They heal for every model they kill.
Wow. And then even if they die, it's a blood tithe point for 90 points, right?
Yeah, and they get 5 murder rolls instead of 1 when they die. So they're. I tried playing a list of like just mass Korgorath. It was bad.
That's too bad.
It's still not awful because you just get so much blood tithe that you summon bloodletters and then you're a good army again. And I'm like, why not just take an army that starts off good and then also does that? And that's how I ended up at this list.
Okay. Well, are there any other things that you would consider?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of little units like Valkia the Bloody. She's great. 140 points, 12-inch movement, flying, little 32 mil base.
Wow.
Just makes her really nice for getting Surround and Destroy as a battle tactic.
Right.
She's a hero, so she can zip way out, and then you can summon from her. The Whippy guy can give mortal units run and charge, so you could auto-run her 18 inches and still charge it and get a bunch of attacks on a little thing. So she's just good.
Wow.
Like that. Star Bloodwrath is great because when he dies at the end of every movement phase on an 8+, he just comes back to life anywhere. So he's recycle. You kill him. You want to kill him ASAP, so that he comes back, and then you can kill him again, and he just gives you repeat blood tithe.
Is he the guy with the axe of Khorne?
Nope.
Okay.
Star Bloodwrath. He's the guy with the 2 axes, and he has like chains on them.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh, yeah, that guy.
His whole thing is just he dies.
He's got like the pom-pom axes. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Wow.
Starbrand is awesome. He's just a solid ass hammer, and he has a baked-in 3d6 charge and 8-inch move.
Jeez.
Pay attention to the movements on a lot of units because the prayer that moves you in the hero phase means there's a big difference between a Bloodletter going 5 and Starbrand going 8. That becomes 6 inches of difference, and that's huge when you're trying to close a gap. It means you can be further back and safer away and still be able to cover that distance and reach out and hit the opponent before they hit you.
That's a really, really good call. Plastic Valk model when. Yeah, Keith says. Yeah. They'll have to redo her and make her like bigger and more, like full on, I would think anyway. I do know Sylvaneth as well. I've started a Sylvaneth army, but I haven't started painting a Sylvaneth army. He is it's hammered. That's true.
Cover your asses when Starbrand's around.
I've heard that before. I mean, he's very reliable, like source of a decent amount of mortal wounds, right? Like,
if he's max anger, as in he didn't fight in both combat phases the last battle round, he minimum does 8 mortal wounds, and then has a 1 in 6 chance of doing 16. So yeah, he's pretty reliable.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so is there any more delicious corn for us?
I think we're good there.
Okay, excellent.
The boys are good there.
Do you have any closing thoughts, Carson, other than Scarbrand being an ass hammer?
He is an ass hammer, I can confirm.
Mm-hmm.
He's hammered my ass every single time I played against him. It's hurt a lot.
And why didn't you? But why don't you like him? I don't. Yeah.
Did I say I didn't like him?
Okay, fair enough. Yep. Withdrawn, Your Honor. My apologies.
You're the host. You gotta pay attention to these things.
That's right.
No, yeah, Khorne. I don't know if I actually said this on stream, but I started saying it just before the stream. I agree with Matthias. I think Khorne is actually a very balanced book, and it's one of those books where the pilot of the army is going to take it as far
right
as it can go. Essentially, like it's not an army that is hamstrung by, well, I need to roll this 4 up or else I lose kind of thing. It's just like a lot of little things, a lot of tiny shenanigans. Like there's no one thing that makes it really good. And I think that any book that has stuff like that is balanced intrinsically. So
Yeah, I mean,
good book.
it's good to have an army that is. I don't think it's low floor, high ceiling. I think it's like decently, it's medium to high floor to high ceiling.
I think it actually is low floor. I think if someone
Really?
really doesn't know what they're doing when they're playing Khorne, they will get slapped. If they play the game where it's just like, I'm going to move all of my models closer to
That's
you.
a high floor.
That'd be high floor, right? Because it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy like at the low level.
It takes a lot of effort to reach the floor, right?
Maybe I'm thinking about the analogy wrong, but I'll concede.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But I agree. We mean the same thing. It's like when I was
Yes,
telling
okay,
my dad
sorry.
about I was saying they had hard water and he was saying they had soft water, and we couldn't agree with what that was, even though we agreed that there was lots of gunk in his water. Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of too bad, like, that they're not more of the Rough Riders kind of mentality of Iron Jaws, because I feel like it does attract those people. But to the people who know what they're getting into, this army is so awesomely designed, that and it definitely suits Matthias for sure, to the letter.
If you like the idea of Khorne, you should play Destruction.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and don't play Cruel Boys, and don't play, you know what I mean? Like, arguably gets sometimes, but
Ogres or Iron Jaws, and you'll be happy as can be.
Ogres and Iron Jaws, and maybe Giants. Giants are probably a decent call.
Yeah.
It's
Be
true.
Angry.
Yeah. But yet he would taste delicious in the pot, Ledivicus. I can't speak right now. Ledivicus says, you're tempted by Iron Jaws now that their unit options are almost doubled? Yeah, I know. Maybe more than doubled. They went up like crazy. It was very sad before. I guess some of them are resculpts too. Got to keep that in mind. Yeah, I'm also tempted. Matthias, did you start some kind of social media?
No.
Oh, okay. I must be thinking of someone else. Someone else like that was also didn't have it, started one. And so I was going to pimp it, but then I forgot to ask you ahead of time. Cool. Well, if they want to find you, Matthias, you are on the Saga of Dice Discord. Link in the description below. You can ask him questions on there. I don't guarantee that he will answer them, but
You gotta at me.
you got to add him, and if he doesn't see it still, you can at me, and I will. I'll hunt him down.
There you go.
Thanks so much, dude, for coming on. I know you're a busy boy, and you've got lots of delicious content. If we do get like a Skaven buff in the coming days or weeks, maybe we could do another Skaven show. That would be fun.
Give me some time to play some games first, but yeah.
Hell yeah.
I want
Awesome.
to play this Skaven again. I like being the rat boy.
Nice.
It feels right.
It does feel right to me too. You're the only like local guy when I got some Grayseer dice made way back in the day that was like Skaven enough to order them. So I'll never forget that, Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks to everyone for watching. Really enjoy talking about Khorne. I learned a lot because they're not an army that attracts me at all, but they, you know what I mean? But so for me, I usually have to play against the army, or I do a show and get fine guests to teach me the ways. Yeah, agreed, Ledivicus. Appreciate Carson and Matthias coming on as usual for Carson, and obviously for Matthias when we can get him. Hopefully you'll be on for another battle report soon, Matthias. We need your
Sure.
your delicious battle report shenanigans.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah, you're coming in. I'll just have to schedule you. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks again for everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye.